I used to be filled with so much hate. I hated myself. I hated the world. I have so many stories on how this reflected, but just one example. Every single time somebody was super nice or friendly, I would automatically be frustrated and so mad at them for being fake happy. I know that sounds crazy, but I was at such a miserable point in my life that I thought anybody who was happy was faking it. Every time I'd walk into a restaurant and the hostess would greet us with a smile, I would literally get an attitude because I'm like, why are you fake smiling? I'm not even kidding. It was horrible. It was brutal. And I can only imagine how my mental state was living in that all the freaking time. But after healing, and oh girl, I've healed a lot from a lot of trauma, I learned that forgiveness is what sets you free, really. So here's how to forgive somebody even though they didn't say sorry, okay? A lot of the times we feel like we need that person to kind of give us reassurance that they know what they did was wrong. But life's, and sometimes we don't get that reassurance. And so what a lot of people get stuck in is the resentment because they're waiting for the apology. But sometimes the apology never comes, and it's never going to come. But you cannot hold on to that resentment just because of somebody else. So for example, my father, I love and forgive him now, but the things that he did to my sister and I in childhood, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, ever. It was horrible. We lived through a lot of abuse, a lot of abandonments, just a lot. But I can say that I forgive him and that I love him. I've lived through bullying, abandonment, abuse, neglect, manipulation, and I forgive every single person. And that is a core part of why I am so in love with life and why I teach other people to do the same. Because if I was at a point where I was still holding on to resentment towards anybody else, including myself, I wouldn't be able to sit here today and teach you how to let go and how to forgive, okay? So the first thing to forgiveness is awareness of what they did. If you are following along with my content, you will pick up this pattern of awareness being the first step. And the reason it's always the first step is because you cannot change what you're not aware of. You have to be aware of it. So for me, what this looked like was a lot of journaling. I wrote so many letters to my exes, to my ex-friends, to my dad, to my mom. So many letters that they will never see ever. They're just for myself. But they are literally written out. And I want to make this so clear. In the first step of awareness, I want you to be as brutal, as blunt, and as honest as possible. In this step, we're not yet like being all lovey-dovey and grateful for the experience. We are ruthless. We are mad. We are angry. And it's okay to feel those emotions. In fact, they're there for a reason. If we weren't meant to feel those emotions, we wouldn't feel them. You know, they are there for a reason. So I want you to feel them. I want you to write out, F you. You hurt me in this and this and this way. And I am so mad at you. How could you ever do that to me? That is what I want us to release, because we need to release that first. If we are not releasing the core wounds, the core emotions that this experience has caused us, it's gonna stay underneath it and bubble up eventually, okay? So we are releasing those emotions. Writing out, I'm so mad at you. That is one way to do it. A one step is to write a letter to them, okay? First step is awareness. I'm so mad at you, so angry at you. How could you ever do this to me? Second step is acceptance. If you haven't watched my video on how to process emotions, go watch that video after this one, because you're gonna notice a key pattern with these steps. Next one is acceptance. They did what they did. You can't go back and change it. For example, my dad, I haven't seen him in years. That's okay. I haven't seen him in years. We create our own suffering when we look at the perspective in a different way. I could be angry right now. I could sit here and be like, damn, my father who was supposed to be there for me wasn't. How could he? And that is what I would release in the first step of awareness. But this step, yeah, I haven't seen my father in years. I haven't. And if you're still feeling that bubbly rage, I want you to go to the first step again and write it out. Scream it out. Cry it out. Journal it out. Go into go into inner child healing and meditations. let it out in any way. Specifically for women, okay, there's 2 ways to like release emotions, and I know that I gave you step-by-step process in the video about a week ago, but you can do it top down or bottom up. Okay, bottom up is really connecting to your body first. It's releasing through somatic exercises like shaking, tapping, like moving. I know this looks so interesting, but actually as women, we store a lot of trauma in our hips. And so when we're able to create a safe space for ourselves and release, you will notice that you will actually start bawling your eyes out just from a little hip movement like that. It is crazy. The next one is top down. So this is like the journaling, the getting into a meditative state. It's really to do with your mind in that way. So that's another way how to heal those emotions. So I have so many tools on forgiving people because I've had to forgive so many people, but also myself. So after the acceptance, it happened. You literally can't change it unless you can do it in your mind through visualization, which is an entire different video. But the next step is to see how it helped you. And for me, for example, my father leaving, when I first did this, by the way, I learned how to do this myself. Like, yes, I had therapy, I had therapists, but this process, I've literally had to do so much healing. I've gotten to do so much healing that, oh, there's a burn. That this process just naturally formed throughout repetition, constant repetition of like every single night I'd forgive somebody new in the beginning of my healing journey, because once I saw how resentment was impacting my life, I was like, you know what, no, I no longer am available to hold this resentment in my body. So that is how I came up with this. But after this, you really want to see the good in the situation, and that is where perspective comes in. Everything in life, we don't actually see with our eyes, we see it with our brain, and it's filtered through our brain, through our conscious brain and our subconscious brain. Our conscious brain is like the logical portion of your brain. The subconscious is the emotional side. The emotional side stores like behaviors and past trauma, things that have happened to you, stories, beliefs, identities, everything, right? So me and you could be looking at the same person, but because of our past experiences, we're entirely perceiving them to be doing a different thing. And an example I use is one time me and my mother were at the beach and I was reading a book to her, and we looked out and this man was sitting on the rocks, and in my head I was like, wow, he's probably having such a beautiful, peaceful time. In the exact same moment, my mom was like, wow, he's probably so depressed. We had no clue who that man was. No clue. And we were both looking at the same person. We had the same amount of stimuli in our eyes and our brains, but what we perceived him to be doing or him to be feeling was entirely reflective of what we were feeling. And that is how everything is with life. I could look at a tree and be like, wow, that tree is giving us oxygen and giving us so much life, and I just love it. Another person could be looking at the same tree being like, damn, it's taking up so much space. It's entirely through our own perception of life that we create our own suffering. And I want to be careful when I say that we create our own suffering. Almost all the suffering you have in your life, it is created by you. And you may think, Alexis, I didn't force that guy to cheat on me. No, not at all. But your perception of what happened is going to create more suffering or a lesson. For example, I've been cheated on before. And when I was unhealed, I would look at it like, damn, what am I doing? This was my fault. How could I let this happen? How could he do this to me? But now, if a guy were to cheat on me, I'd be like, damn, he was probably really hurt, and I'm gonna let him process his stuff, and it has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And I might have some emotions that I get to work through and process and heal from, and that's exactly what I'll do. Most of our suffering is suffering because of our perception of it, right? And I'm not saying bad things don't happen to you and like you can't look at them in a bad way. I'm not saying that at all. But I want you to be conscious now for future reference of when something happens. Like maybe you miss the bus or are late to work. Instead of always looking at it in a negative lens, bringing in a new positive perspective to everything in life that will literally reshape your brain. Back to where we were. Forgiveness. looking for the positive outcome of the situation. So for example, with my dad leaving me, in the moment when I was doing this exercise, there was absolutely nothing coming to my head. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean that my father leaving me would do good in my life? I was so frustrated with this. The more I sat with it, and obviously went through the steps of awareness and acceptance, and now this step, I realized that without what I've been through, I would never be able to help somebody else go through the same thing. I would never be able to have such really good standards for men, because I've seen what it's like to grow up with a man who was not a good person. I've grown so much through healing and discovery and self-discovery, and without the trauma that I've experienced, I would never have had that leap of faith to take to really work on myself, to heal myself, and to become the person I am today. I'm so open-mindedness. I have such a high level of consciousness and awareness, and I never would have been here if none of the things that happened for me happened. And I use that word very strategically, happened for me. I'm somebody who believes that everything happens for me in my life. My best friend could die tomorrow, and while it'd be sad, and while I would work through the emotions and grieve and heal like every human would do, I would know that it had to happen for a higher purpose that I understood, that I could understand. And that has really helped me get through some hard things in life, because everything happens for a reason. Everything I can't even explain this to you. Our small minds don't really understand it. We have to tap into like a higher level of understanding and awareness of like a bird's eye view of why hard, painful things have to happen. But they do have to happen. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Being able to look at what happened to you in a positive lens. What did you gain from it? What did you gain from that experience? Okay, so now we have the 3 steps. 1, awareness, 2, acceptance, and I would like to say the lesson. Okay, last one is forgiveness. Whew. And people might say, oh, this is like a whole process, it's going to take a long time. Forgiveness is a decision. It is one mental decision that you make. I forgive you. Things might come up. You might need to do these steps before the forgiveness part, but all the forgiveness is a decision that you forgive them. I like to do it while writing down, so I will literally go through all this process while writing on paper. Some people like to do it in a form of meditation. Some people like to do it while stretching. Honestly, whatever floats your boat, you know in your body what is going to help you, right? Some people like to do it in a form of prayer. It honestly is completely up to you. But for myself, I like to do it in a form of writing. Top to bottom. Top to bottom. And yeah, so at the very end, I remember one time this guy had broken up with me. And I was so hurt. I was like, damn, you have been trying to get me for so long. And I finally start opening up to you. And that's when you leave. Okay, I see how it is. I was so upset. I journaled top to bottom, awareness, acceptance, lesson, and at the very end, I wrote, I forgive you for myself. Because I have this basic understanding that forgiveness does not at all equate to reconciliation. Just because I forgive you does not mean I'm going to reach out to you and tell you I forgave you. It doesn't mean that. It just means that I am no longer holding on to the anger, the hurt, the fear, the resentment that I was once holding on to. So that's what I do. Forgiveness is literally a superpower where you can go in life and forgive the person who cut you off right then and there. Nothing can actually hurt you, seriously. And I'm not saying it isn't hard. It is extremely difficult, especially if you have had somebody who dogs you out. You were so nice to them, you love them so much, and they really, really hurt you. It is not easy. That's not what this process is made to be easy, because why would I make a process difficult when the situation is already difficult enough? The process has to be easy so we can go through it, okay? But yeah, that is the process on how to actually forgive. If you are struggling with forgiveness, I would love to help you, because I've seen how it looked like to forgive in my life, and the transformation it has caused myself and others. It's my passion. It's literally my purpose to help women level up, rise up, love themselves. And if you're ready for that deep transformation, link in my bio. I have a Stan store. I have so many resources. I have group chats, more exclusive group chats, and open and available group chats. I have my coaching, one-on-one coaching that you can apply for. There's so many resources for you. Love yourself as much as I love you. Mwah.